Structure of the human heart. Human heart is one of the most important organs which is responsible for sustaining life. It functions throughout the lifespan of an individual, and it is the most hardworking and robust organ in the human body. Heart is located in the center of the thoracic cavity, but its apex is slightly tilted towards the left side. That's why we say that left side of the human body is closer to the human heart. Or if somebody have pain in the left arm, so they probably think that it's because of the heart. Heart performs many important functions. One of the most important function of human heart is to transport blood throughout the body. Heart receives deoxygenated blood from all parts of the body, makes it oxygenated by delivering it to the lungs, and then after receiving oxygenated blood from the lungs, it pumps that oxygenated blood into all parts of the human body. And blood not only delivers oxygen, but it also delivers glucose, hormones, and other components to various parts of the body. The heart also ensures that adequate blood pressure is maintained in the body. So the blood pressure is maintained at an equal level because of the heart. There are two types of circulation. One is called as the pulmonary circulation and the other is called as the systemic circulation. Now the word pulmonary is related to the lungs, so it means that in this circulation, deoxygenated blood from the heart goes into the lungs for oxygenation, and after getting oxygenated, it goes back into the heart. Whereas in systemic circulation, what happens? Deoxygenated blood goes into the heart so that it gets oxygenated, and after it gets oxygenated, that oxygenated blood is transported back to the all parts of the body. So in systemic circulation, it is related to the body and heart, the circulation which is present between body and heart, and the circulation in which lungs is involved and heart is involved is called as the pulmonary circulation. So in both cases, heart is present, but in pulmonary circulation, lungs are there, and in systemic circulation, the rest of the body is there. Now you see this picture shows pulmonary circulation. So what happens? By means of the pulmonary arteries, deoxygenated blood goes from the lungs from the heart into the lungs for oxygenation, and after it gets oxygenated by means of pulmonary veins, that oxygenated blood is transported back into the heart. So that's how it happens. And in pulmonary circulation, the vessels which are involved are pulmonary veins and pulmonary arteries. Usually, arteries' function is to transport oxygenated blood from the heart to the rest of the body, and veins' function is to transport deoxygenated blood from the body to its heart. But in this case, the function reverses. Like in pulmonary circulation, what happens? Pulmonary arteries, they are taking deoxygenated blood into the lungs for oxygenation, and pulmonary veins are bringing oxygenated blood to the heart. Now this diagram shows systemic circulation. You see, in systemic circulation, heart is involved and rest of the body is involved, the upper portion of the body and lower portion of the body. So what happens in this, again, the arteries and veins are responsible for delivering and bringing oxygen. So what happens? Deoxygenated blood by means of the veins, they enters into the heart, and when it gets oxygenated, so by means of arteries, that oxygenated blood is supplied to all parts of the body. Now this type of circulation is called as the systemic circulation. Now there is another type of circulation which is called as the coronary circulation. Coronary word is related to heart, so it means that kind of circulation in which oxygenated blood is supplied to the heart, because heart is made up of muscles. It's a muscular organ. It is made up of cardiac muscles. Heart also needs nutrients, oxygens, and glucose. So in coronary circulation, basically oxygenated blood is supplied to the heart. Now you see this right coronary artery, left coronary artery. So these arteries are responsible to deliver oxygen to the heart. Now, structure of the human heart. So basically heart has 4 chambers. In the mammals and birds, there are 4 chambers basically. The upper 2 chambers are called as the atria, and the lower 2 chambers are called as the ventricles. And there is a right side of the heart and left side of the heart. The right side of the heart consists of right atrium and right ventricle, and left side of the heart consists of left atrium and the left ventricle. Pericardium. Now this is basically, the heart is a muscular organ. It is surrounded by a membrane known as pericardium, and this pericardium produces pericardial fluid, which actually lubricates the heart, the movement, and so that there is no friction between the heart and the membrane, and the heart can easily contract and relax. It can easily beats, and it can easily expand itself and contracts. So this pericardium plays a very important role. So this picture will show you perfect representation of pericardium and pericardial fluid. You see this heart is surrounded by a membrane. This is called as a thin membrane, and this thin membrane is known as pericardium. And then there is pericardial fluid present. This basically reduces friction between the heart and the pericardium. So heart can easily contract and expand, right? And so it actually holds heart in its position, and it also reduces friction between the heart and other organs. Now let's see this structure of the heart. You see here, this is the right side of the heart, this is the left side of the heart. In the right side of the heart there is right atrium, right ventricle, and the left side of the heart consists of left atrium and the left ventricle. Also there is aorta, which is the largest blood vessel, largest artery basically. It is also present in the heart. So basically that deoxygenated blood comes into the heart, into the right atrium, then it goes into the right ventricle, then by means of the pulmonary artery it goes into the lungs for oxygenation, and by means of pulmonary vein that oxygenated blood comes into the left ventricle atrium, and then goes into the left ventricle, and then enters into the aorta, and from aorta artery supplies that oxygenated blood to all parts of the human body. Atrioventricular valves. Now there are valves present between atria and ventricles, and these valves are called as the atrioventricular valves, and there are 2 types. The one present between the right atrium and the right ventricle, it is called as the tricuspid valve. It is made up of 3 cusps, that's why it's called tricuspid valve. And the one which is present between left atrium and the left ventricle, it is called as the mitral valve or bicuspid valve. It's called bicuspid valve because it is made up of 2 cusps, right? And then there is another valve which is called as the semilunar valve, and this semilunar valve, it is found between the pulmonary artery. You see this is pulmonary artery and the right ventricle. So between right ventricle and pulmonary artery this valve is present, semilunar. It looks like a half moon, that's why it's called semilunar valve. You see semilunar valve open, so the blood will flow into the pulmonary artery, right from right ventricle. And it is also found between the left atrium. You see this is the left ventricle and aorta. So between left ventricle and aorta, semilunar valve is there, and between right ventricle and pulmonary artery, semilunar valves are there, right? septum. Now, interatrial septum and interventricular septum. Interatrial septum, it is present between right atrium and left atrium, and interventricular septum, it is present between right ventricle and left ventricle. So basically, the septum or the septus basically separates the right heart from the left heart. You see, this is the right heart, which is composed of right atrium and right ventricle, and they are separated by a valve known as tricuspid valve. And this is the left side of the heart, which consists of left atrium and left ventricle, and they are separated by means of mitral valve. And these right heart and left heart are separated by means of the septus. The one which is present between right atrium and left atrium, it is called as the atrial septum, and the one which is present between right ventricle and left ventricle, it is called as the ventricular septum. So the function is to separate the right side of the heart from the left one. Thank you.